Welcome back to another episode of Morpheus Crypto. In our last video, we showed you how both Ethereum and Bitcoin had run into key resistance of their prior highs from August, and we said this could spark a short-term pullback in the market. As such, we took that as our cue to take profits on our long positions and sold all of our swing trades into strength. Turned out to be a good move because several hours later, the market began selling off and pulling back as anticipated. And as we can see here, for the past several days, the market has been in pullback mode. So now we've got that pullback that we anticipated, but has the market pulled back too much? Is this the end of the uptrend? Or could we expect a potential resumption of the strength that we've seen over the past several weeks? Tune in to our next video where we will take a look at the charts and see what the charts say. We also will take an updated look at several altcoins that were on our radar for potential pullback entry. We'll see how they're playing out since our last video as well. So before we dive in, be sure to press that like button and don't forget to subscribe to ensure you never miss out on another Morpheus crypto video. Okay, let's take an updated look at Ethereum. Again, in our last video, Ethereum had just run into resistance of its prior highs from August 29th. And that gave us the perfect excuse to lock in profits on our 5 crypto swing trades. Now, if you're trading in a raging bull market when altcoins are trading at new highs, then a better strategy to maximize profits is to trail a stop higher because there's no overhead resistance. However, when the market's trying to reverse like it is now and you've got prior highs, those prior highs often will serve as significant resistance that causes the prices to move back down. So when we got a rally into this prior high from late August, again, that was our cue to lock in profits. And you can see how precisely that played out with regard to technical analysis. Now, we did anticipate a pullback to the 50-day moving average. And we mentioned in our video that this pullback could present a relatively low risk entry point in Ethereum because not only was it the 50-day moving average, but these prior highs here from September, mid-September, also should have served as support. Again, prior resistance becomes new support once the resistance is broken. So we took that as our cue to buy Ethereum on the pullback, and we set a stop down here below the 10 and 20-day moving averages at the 1617 area. Now, after our entry for several days, Ethereum did hold at the 50-day moving average and tried to reverse, but just yesterday we got a move lower, and it did hit our stop, so we're out of the trade. However, I will say that our loss was minimal because of the fact that we took small share size in anticipation of this pullback, and we were going to add to it when we got confirmation. So often in terms of controlling your risk management, it's key to make sure that you're controlling your position size. When you have more confirmation in the trade, you add to the position size, and on your initial entries, having small position size. And that's something that we do with our Morpheus Crypto members. When we send out trade alerts, we always notify everybody exactly what our position size is. So nevertheless, Ethereum has stopped out. Now, it would not surprise us at all if within the next day or two, Ethereum gets back above yesterday's high and above its moving averages. That would constitute what's known as a shakeout pattern, where you get a one-day move below obvious support, everybody exits, and then the buyers step in. That could be known as market manipulation as well, but that's another story. So in terms of Ethereum here, right now we're out of it. However, we are looking at some individual altcoins that are showing relative strength, and that's what we focus on mainly, more so than trading Ethereum and Bitcoin, is individual altcoins with relative strength. So we'll take a look at those and where those are looking. But before we do so, let's go ahead and dive into the chart of Bitcoin and see how Bitcoin's holding up relative to Ethereum. So similar to Ethereum, Bitcoin also had run into resistance of its prior high from August. But Bitcoin was showing slight relative strength to Ethereum because it had actually probed above this prior high. And at the time, we said that there was 3 possible scenarios for Bitcoin. We said one scenario is that we don't look back, we just continue higher, in which case we would look to buy the first pullback. We said the second scenario is a sideways consolidation, and third scenario was a significant pullback. And we actually got a pullback after a one-day overcut, probe above that resistance level. However, notice how the pullback was much less severe than Ethereum. Whereas Ethereum pulled back all the way to its 50-day moving average the next day, Bitcoin pulled back modestly and actually held at support of its breakout level, which again, in our last video, we mentioned was a key support level. And you can see how precisely it held support. And now over the past couple of days, holding above that breakout level most importantly, we've got all the moving averages still below the current price. We've got the 10, the 20, and the 50-day moving averages. Price is still above all three of those. So Bitcoin definitely looking better than Ethereum now. And we've also got these moving averages now lined up in the right direction. We've got the 10 above the 20 and the 20 above the 50, which has to happen in terms for a new uptrend to develop in the intermediate term. So we're definitely liking the chart of Bitcoin here better than Ethereum at the moment. However, Ethereum tends to be more volatile and can snap back pretty quickly, as well as the relative strength that's holding up in individual altcoins. If we take a look here at the Bitcoin chart a little further, we can see that we've actually got a bit of let's go ahead and zoom into the 4-hour chart, and we'll see that we've actually got a bit of a pennant pattern developing. So this is a pattern known as a pennant, and a pennant can be either a bullish or bearish signal depending on where it occurs. It tends to be a signal that indicates a resumption of the dominant trend, and it indicates that there's a big price expansion coming soon in either direction, but it doesn't indicate typically which direction that breakout will be. Based on the recent price action of Bitcoin, though, it's reasonable to assume that as long as we hold above the lower channel of this pennant pattern, that we could see a breakout above the upper side and a rally to new highs. But keep in mind, the big issue here we have with Bitcoin is that we've got a lot of overhead supply from the summertime, all the way from the 29,000 area all the way up to 31. So it's not surprising that we pulled back. You can see here that pullback from the high occurred right as we started to test the lows, where all those people that got trapped at higher levels started to sell into, and that sparked a pullback. But again, holding up much better than Ethereum. So we're keeping an eye on the relative strength of Bitcoin for a potential re-entry. In the Morpheus crypto portfolio, we did lock in a decent gain in Bitcoin from our swing entry near the lows, and we stopped out when we dipped down to the 27,350 area. We had a trailing stop we used to lock in gains, but now that the price is stabilized, it's on our radar for potential re-entry. So Bitcoin, the king of crypto, looking pretty solid. Let's dive in further now to take a look at some of the top altcoins on our radar. Let's dive in now and take a look at some of the top altcoins on our radar for potential buy entry in the coming days. In our last video, we highlighted how Solana, had rallied to a 26% gain in the Morpheus crypto portfolio, and we took our profits because of Ethereum running into resistance of its prior highs, and SOL had also been approaching resistance of its prior highs from August as well. So we took that as our cue to lock in profits, and we actually sold SOL near the highs of the rally day for a 26% gain over a 2-week holding period. Now, we also said that we'd be looking for SOL as a potential pullback entry because of its increasing relative strength and strong fundamentals. And over the past week, that's exactly what's been happening. Is SOL has been forming a bullish pattern known as a bull flag, and we've re-entered the trade. So let's go ahead and draw that. If you're new to technical analysis, it can be helpful to know the bull flag pattern because it's a common pattern that you'll see especially as the market becomes more bullish. You'll see this pattern develop more. And that's when you get basically a strong rally, and then prices just drift lower rather than pulling back significantly. Prices just kind of drift lower, but still remain near the highs. And I'm just kind of labeling it here so that you can see the pattern better. All right, so bull flag, think of it as like a kind of a flag pole, and then you got a flag drifting lower. And that's what you see here with SOL. And that's a bullish pattern we really like. Notice how it's holding above the 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages, still firmly above its 10-day moving average, which will soon rise up to provide support when it meets the price of SOL. So what we're looking for is a rally above the upper channel of this bull flag, which could spark momentum of a rally that leads to new swing highs. So if we get back above the $24 level, watch for volume to kick in potentially and break out above the prior swing highs, and then we're off to the races. So again, SOL, one of the strongest looking chart patterns right now for potential pullback entry. Again, we like the relative strength, and we like that bull flag pattern in SOL. Morpheus crypto portfolio is already long as we anticipate a resumption of the recent breakout. Next up, let's take a look at Link. In our last video, we mentioned that Link is an OG crypto that was a top leader in the 2020 to 2021 bull market. And we've definitely been seeing some major accumulation in relative strength in recent weeks. Notice how Link has been trading steadily higher for weeks, while the rest of the market has just been trying to rally over the past couple of days prior to this last pullback. And when we saw this relative strength in Link, we said that this was on our radar for potential buy entry. We said specifically that we were looking for a potential pullback to the area of the 10 or 20-day moving averages. And let's go ahead and take a look at what happened since then. We see here that our buy zone was a pullback that either dipped below the 10-day moving average all the way down to the 20-day moving average. And that's exactly what happened. Next day, we got an undercut of the 10-day moving average. And 2 days later, we tested support of the 20-day moving average. And notice how perfectly the price action has held, bounced perfectly right off that 20-day moving average. And now we've got a tight consolidation going above the 20-day. So if Link gets back above the $7.80 level, basically above this 3-day high, then we're off to the races and we could see a breakout to a new swing high. So we did buy Link in the Morpheus crypto portfolio. We sent a trade alert after Link undercut this 10-day moving average. And it's currently right near our entry price. Again, we like the risk reward of buying these top relative strength cryptos on a pullback. So Link looking good. We get a little help from the market, from Ethereum. Both Link and SOL could resume to show leadership and could break out to new swing highs. All right, last up, let's take a look at AAVE. AAVE is a large cap DeFi token in the same category as Compound, COMP, and Maker, MKR. Now, in our last video, we showed the relative strength of MKR, how it was trading at a new 52-week high. And MKR continues to show high relative strength as it consolidates at a new high. However, we've been noticing increasing relative strength in AAVE as volume ticks higher as well. And this got our attention. In fact, the volume yesterday really got our attention. Huge volume spike, highest volume since the 1st of August. Now, what we don't like, however, is this candle that you see here. We got an inverted hammer, which can be a bearish pattern that leads to lower prices, especially when we've got a probe above the highs that fails. So we don't like this volatility here, this bit of a tug of war the past 2 days. However, notice how the price action is holding above the 10-day moving average, and we've got kind of a steady uptrend line developing here off the lows, which you can see volume's been picking up ever since we've been forming this uptrend line, which is now converging with the 20-day moving average. Whenever you see convergence or confluence of a trend line and a moving average, then that becomes a more significant support level. So you can see we've got some pretty significant support trending higher here. And let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly chart, because the weekly chart, zooming out a little bit, is what we really like in AAVE here. And you can see in AAVE, this red line, this 50-week moving average. For longer term trends, this is an important level because when the price gets above the 50-week moving average, it often sparks a major longer term trend reversal. So you can see here that AAVE has really been in a base now for throughout most of 2023 on the upside around $90 and finding support on the downside around $50. So kind of a trading range. But notice how this 50-week moving average has perfectly acted as resistance back in February, again in April, and then throughout the summer, we just couldn't get above it other than this one-day probe. Now, as of last week, we did close above that 50-week moving average, and there's a tug of war going on between the bulls and bears. But if we get back above this 50-week moving average and hold, 67.27 is currently the 50-week moving average. If we get back above that, and confirmation would be a rally above last week's high, above 72, then we have a major trend reversal shaping up, and that momentum could really lead to a nice rally in AAVE. So we've taken a shot at AAVE in the portfolio. We sent a trade alert yesterday and notified members that we were getting in. Specifically, if we zoom into the hourly chart, again, by the way, Morpheus uses a top-down strategy. So we look at the longer-term weekly charts to look for the setup, then the daily chart to kind of fine-tune the pattern. And then we use sometimes the hourly and mostly the 4-hour, but sometimes the hourly to look for an entry. You can see here, this big volume spike really caught our attention with AAVE, but we waited for a pullback, and then we got our pullback here. We bought on this pullback to the 10-period moving average on the hourly chart. And if we zoom out to the 4-hour chart, we can see here that we also saw there was convergence of support of these moving averages. So it is actually trading near our stop because the idea of this setup was we either want to be right or we want to be right out. In other words, if the trade doesn't work quickly, we want to be out. So if we get a breakdown below this low on the 4-hour chart, we're going to be out quickly. But it's a positive risk reward because if we get a resumption of this momentum we saw yesterday, then it could really take off. So AAVE, Again, keep an eye on that. We need a tight stop, but there is potential for an explosive breakout, especially if we get above this 50-week moving average and hold above it and close this week above it. So AAVE looking like a bit of a longer term swing setup here. So that's going to be a wrap for this week. We hope you got some good analysis and some good ideas to help you navigate the crypto market. Remember that in Ethereum, we've got a significant amount of overhead resistance. We got to get back above this 10, 20, and 50-day moving average. So the level to keep an eye on there is 1660. If we get back above the 1660 level, then we could see momentum start to pick up in Ethereum. But for now, Bitcoin's looking a little better. Bitcoin, again, remember, is holding above its 10, 20, and 50-day moving averages, forming a bull pennant pattern. If you're not already a member of Morpheus Crypto, head on over to morpheustrading.com, click on Crypto Picks, and you can get started with receiving the top crypto swing trade alerts direct to your mobile phone every day and join the powerful, dynamic MTG tribe. See you in the next video.